PIT Adapt.
One of the things that I'm very careful with is not labeling things as good or bad. It makes sense why we do that because our minds are attracted to following a path that is good and trying to eliminate the things in our lives or circumstances that we believe are bad. And what's dangerous about this is that 99% of the time the argument is different for everyone, meaning outside of the conversation of morality, right, that death is bad or killing someone is bad or that stealing is bad, that's not the conversation I'm having. What I'm talking about is the perception of good or bad when it comes to everyday events, such as, for example, my newborn. He is exactly 7 days old, and over the past week he's been sleeping longer than normal infants do. And so it's easy to say, man, he's a good sleeper, or that my other son who didn't sleep as long was a bad sleeper, because what we are trying to do, our minds are trying to make sense of that situation, and the way that we do that is by labeling things, and the most common label we make of things is good and bad. And so for me, it's not saying that my newborn Dawson is a better sleeper, it's just different. He sleeps longer. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. Now the perception to be that if he doesn't sleep as good, then I don't get enough sleep, and then that, being a new parent is just difficult and it's just tough and it's bad, right? That's those boxes that we try to create. And I try to stay away from that conversation and that perception, because then everything I do will constantly be based on that my son is a good sleeper or not, because he's sleeping an infinite amount of time. And that's a dangerous kind of mentality to have with many things. So we can extend this conversation anywhere where we normally perceive things as good or bad. For instance, training. Do I perceive a certain frequency of training a week as good or bad? So if I have, without noticing, defined a good training week as 5 to 6 days a week, and that if I don't get 5 or 6 days a week, and then I had a bad training week, right? That's those boxes again. Now, who is to say that for somebody else 3 days a week is a good frequency for training, where for me I would consider that bad? It's not good or bad, it is different. That those 3 days a week suffice for them, that those 5 or 6 days a week suffice for me. It is not good or bad, it is just different. And ideally what we're trying to do is to position ourselves to think more as that regardless of circumstance, regardless of what we believe is ideal, which is good, that we just accept it as just being different. That it might not be ideal, but it's not bad by any means, right? Because that perception is relative with everything in life. That my 6 days a week is impossible for someone who trains 3 days a week. That for them was just as good as my 4 days a week were. So my encouragement is to really start reframing that thought process about how we keep defining everything about our days as being good or bad, and just accept it for what it is. It just is. Like, it's not bad, it's not good, right? There are ideal situations that we would hope for, but what happens is when we put ourselves in positions where they don't go ideal, we label them as bad, and it starts to create a cycle that's really negative, right? Like my son not sleeping 5 hours last night or tonight because he did that last night, that makes that a bad experience? The answer is no, it doesn't. It's just different. I had to get up more. I had to feed him an extra session. Like, it just is. I don't connect that with like a negative experience, because the outcome of labeling everything as bad because it doesn't go under my ideal situation starts to create really negative net cycles, meaning that the negativity adds and builds on each other, and that makes it really dangerous long term, because everything is always so binary. You're making it black or white, good or bad. I don't like this situation, or this is a perfect situation, because honestly, there is no perfect situation. There's ideal and unideal, and that if we just accept it for that and move forward, then I believe we would find more consistency with our own happiness. And that's just what's on my mind. I hope that makes sense. Talk soon, guys.